Hello everybody, welcome to Dackman Productions and welcome to Conrail. So we got another package from Mr. Muffins. And so as you guys already know, I always tell a story while unboxing. But anyway, so I've been asked this question many times over the years of building Conrail high rail gauge layout. And that question is, hey, are you going to weather any of your rolling stock? And the answer to that is no. Not that I don't like it. It's because I'm afraid if I weather it, that when I go to sell it, it'll be a hard sale. Now, there are very good professional people out there who do weathering, like Harry Heike, Harry Henning of Henning's Trains. He's a good one. There's a guy by the name of Tim who sells weathered cars at the TCA York show. But I just could not bring myself to buy anything that was custom weathered. But, however, that rule changed. Sort of like a curveball was thrown at me, almost like a left-handed metric crescent wrench. And for the mechanics out there who are probably laughing at that, know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so what happened is, and I'll show you guys here, Lionel had announced they were doing factory weathered cars. I'm like, you know what? Now I'm interested. Because now I can say it's not a custom, it's actually factory. Not that, it'll be any less of a chance of resale. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking weird, but I just think you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but I think a factory weathered car would probably resell better than a custom one. Depending on who did the custom work, too, I'm sure. But I'm not going to say it's worth more or anything like that. No, I'm looking for a resale. I mean, you buy something and sell later on if you change your mind. Not that I see that happening with Conrail, but anyway. So, what I decided to buy is my very first weathered car, because it's a factory weathered car by Lionel. Wow. Oh, man. I gotta tell you, for a factory weathered car that looks good. So, before I go too much further in my thoughts, I'm going to get this on the track. Because there's some things I like about this, and some things I don't. And we'll discuss that. But overall, I do like the car. But it could use a little bit more. Believe it or not, I can't believe I'm saying that. But I'll explain more when I get it on the track. So let's go. Alright, so I got this Lionel hopper cart out of the box. It is a PS2 two-bay covered hopper. For those who are not familiar with that model designation, the manufacturer is Pullman Standard. And the PS2 was one of their series of covered hopper cars. It was actually their original series. Conrail really did have two-bay hopper cars just like this. They were used for very dense products that weighed a lot, such as cement was their most common use, as well as other materials that was heavy. According to the one source that I found, these are former weaver molds, but as you guys know, I like to generally find more than just one source saying that, so I'm going to say that I'm not 100% sure, but that's what the one source is saying, that these are former weaver molds. Now, this particular car is made in Vietnam, and so that's not one of my most favorite places for the Lionel products to be made out of, but it seems like they are making improvements. This is stock number 2426631. So I guess I didn't read the whole entire description when I looked at this in the catalog. I just seen it and said, "Hey, this would be cool to, as a factory weathered car." So it does say on the side of the label here, die-cast trucks, operating couplers, separately applied details. And the one thing that I missed says simulated weathered sides. So taking a look at the sides here, they do look pretty good. Even has the rust coming through the paint. That's super cool. And so the one thing that I mentioned that they could have done more, but again, I didn't read the description before I bought it, is there's no weathering on top. So, yeah, you can't have weathering on the sides without weathering on the top. Yes, I know, I can always weather it myself on top, but again, more likely I probably won't, just in case, I want to resell it later. But at any rate, I do like what they have done as far as the weathering. For a factory weathering job, I think this looks pretty darn good. Could they have weathered the top? In my opinion, yeah. You can always weather it before you put the hatches and a walkway on, and then done the weathering separately on the roof walks and the hatches. Now, I'm sure that would have added to the price. I don't know. But at any rate, it's for those who are considering buying this car, I feels as though it doesn't, it's not a deal breaker. Because if you're good at weathering, or you want to try weather, you can always weather the top yourself or have somebody do it for you. So the one thing I'm noticing, and I'm sure people already know where I'm heading, is that they're using friction-bearing trucks on this particular hopper car. I would have to research the time period that they would have had to swap them out from friction-bearing to rotating wheel-bearing caps. Because I'm not sure if it was before or during the Conrail era. But yeah, this uses friction-bearing. It has friction-bearing cap trucks on it. Alright, so let's take a look at the other side. We'll spin it around here because what they did is they made it different from each side here. And I don't want to leave that part out. So there you go. Again, nice weathering effects for factory weathering. I think they did pretty good with it. Okay, so I cut the video real quick and I did some research because I didn't want to make another follow-up video, so I learned my lesson on that one. So I had already mentioned, and I promised you guys I would leave stuff in there just so I could correct myself, so you realize that I don't always get it right. But anyway, I went out on the internet and did find a couple sources and seen that, yes, Lionel did get this correct. It does. It is supposed to have friction-bearing trucks on there. So I was kind of curious. When was friction-bearing trucks banned? So friction-bearing trucks were banned in 1991 on all hazmat material carrying cars. The regular freight cars, they were not banned until 1995. This was not an FRA ban, but an AAR ban. So yeah, during the time period of Conrail, summer equipment would have friction-bearing trucks on them. And Lionel got it correct. So I'm looking on here for the classification of the car. Because remember, as I said, Conrail always had class numbers or classification numbers. Now, I looked all over the place, and the only thing I'm seeing is PG-71, but I don't see any other classification. I can say that just about every Conrail car that I've seen in a photo has always had a class number designation on it. And PG-71 is definitely not a class designation for this car. There is no such thing. From what I can tell at this time, those series of cars are ex-Erie Lackawanna cars, but I would need a little bit more time to research that more in depth to be 100% sure. Lionel has also offered the non-weathered version of this car as well. So let's take a look at that. So I actually stopped the video. This part of the video is actually like 2 or 3 days later, maybe even 4. What happened is I ordered the weathered car, and I thought I had ordered the non-weathered car, but I did not. And so I went back and ordered it and had to wait for it to arrive, which it did today, because I wanted to see if they put the classification number on here. Before I made any further comments and have to make another follow-up video, I wanted to take my time, do the proper research, wait for the non-weathered car to get here before I make any other comments in my video. Now that I see this, yeah, I can go ahead and make my comments. Alright, so I have the weathered car and the non-weathered car here as well. One thing I forgot to mention is not only is this weathered car weathered, but it's also patched out. So that's actually a patched and weathered car. Now, the non-weathered version does have the classification number on here, CL71. Now, for those who are familiar with the Weaver cars, these hatches, they weren't on hinges, but these hatches do open up as well. There you go. So they are opening hatches, which is nice. I do like the fine grading details, the brake wheels on the end of the car. The details on these things are really, really excellent. I'm going too fast, so sorry about that. Now, also, on the Weaver cars, the bottoms would always, they were never fastened. So, these are fastened. They don't open, but they don't come off either, like the Weaver molds did. But it's not a bad undercarriage. Pretty nice. And this one has, as you see, it has the, there you go, friction bearing trucks on it as well, which is fine for this time period. There we go. Okay, so I wanted to double check and triple check myself before I make my next comments, because there is a person at Lionel. He's into marketing and is supposedly a fan of Conrail, but I've been told he's not much of a Conrail nutcase as much as I am, but he does like Conrail. So, with that being said, the designation of CL71 that they put on here, there again, there's CL71. That's the model class designation that they used. So I'm not so sure if the classification number of CL71 is the correct one. The way that Conrail numbered and classified these in the classes is sort of confusing and hard to follow along on their site because it seems like it jumps all over the place. But anyway, there's actually 2 classes of CL71, not to try and split atoms here, but you have a CL71A, which started with the number 876900. So it's actually 876900 numbers. Then the CL71C started off with the number 877007. And again, it does say CL71 on there. I'm not sure if, without even more further researching, because I want to get this video done, whether or not Conrail would have the suffix letter of A, B, or C on here. I'm glad they do the research into doing this and bringing these beautiful Conrail trains to those who like them. And I'm seeing more and more Conrail showing up at the local shows on clubs. So thanks guys for buying and running Conrail and keeping it alive. I wanted to revisit this car because I'm not sure if that's painted or if it's some kind of vinyl decal. I mean, it doesn't look like a vinyl decal, but if that's printed paint, they did an excellent job, because I can't tell. Because I was thinking in the back of my mind after, initially, I'm like, well, how would they pad print this? I don't know. Or even spray masking it. I'm sure there'll be several steps. But then a thought crossed my mind. I wonder if this was some kind of decal on the side of it instead. Because it has a feel to it. Like it's not smooth. Like it is some sort of material that's on there. Which would explain why there's nothing on the roof. Because it's not actually printed, it's actually a decal. And the decal would actually go in between these ribs. Because you'll notice that the ribs, I just now noticed that the ribs are not painted or weathered either. It's only in between. So that's what leads me to believe that this is not painted. Regardless, it's still an excellent effect from the factory. And again, it was hard to tell. But now that I'm looking at it and thinking about it, yeah, that's not paint. But that's cool. It's still a cool piece. Alright, so I know you guys like to see the stuff I buy run. So let's go ahead and put it in a train. Okay, as I mentioned before, if anything was to go wrong, I would let you guys know. The two Conrail cars that I just got seem to be a little on the light side, so it may be the one switch that they don't like, but it seems like when they would go through this one particular switch, they would jump across the switch and derail. So what I did is I added weights to them, and they now run perfectly for me. So if you run those and you have a problem, just to add a little weight, what I did instead of tearing a whole car apart is my trick for the covered hopper cars that have the hatches that open up like I just showed you. I just simply use fish gravel as my weight. So I'll actually pour fish gravel into the hopper car to weigh it down, because I don't feel like spending my time tearing something apart to add weight inside of it. So, and a nice part about using fish gravel, if it's too heavy, you can always just simply turn upside down and empty some out. And when you go to sell it, you just simply turn upside down and empty it out, and you're good to go to sell it. So, if you like that tip, leave me a thumbs up. Hope you enjoyed this video. It's been a great run. And thanks again for watching. And we'll see you next time at a train show or trackside. Catch you guys later. Goodbye.